Okay, I'm Naomi Colas with the service desk. I've probably worked with most of you. This is Satya. She's from our development team.
Good morning.
And she and I have been working together on the portal. So she is co-collaborating on the presentation, but she's the developer side of it, so the back end. So if we have questions on that, that's what she's here for. So yeah.
Yes.
Anything else? Okay. We'll get started. Oh, I need to be able to see this. This isn't going to work for me. I'm sorry. Because I can't see the... Maybe I have to stand. Oh, boy. This is not my... Well, then you guys can't see me, actually. This is perfect. I'll just sit down here. This is going to be fun. Okay. And I don't know if the camera is going to have to move. Do I have to stay in one spot for the camera guy? Okay. All right, because we're recording this. So for people who aren't here, we'll have this available on the conference website after the conference. So this is really going to be, in a way, it's our starting training documents for the portal. There's a lot of helpful screenshots, things like that in here. So we're going to use this information, the service desk is especially, to answer tickets that come in as we slowly launch the new portal. So we're going to talk about what we've done to modernize the portal, talk about timing. I think this has been a big concern for most people about launching the new portal. And then I'm going to go through just the whole new portal, ways to create an account, sign in, go through the page and the features that it offers, the profile section, quickly cover the resources section, contacts, and then go into what the administrators are going to see. We call it the admin portal. So where they manage users, assign proxy admin. So we'll get into what that is later. And then more resources for where to go for training documents, bulletin. You know, most of you at a workday have heard me talk about a lot of these resources. Okay, so what have we done to modernize the portal? As we all know, the existing one is kind of old school, old-fashioned. When I started in 2018, I was a little baffled by the graphics because they were kind of old-timey. So when you see the new portal, it's going to look so nice and shiny and bright and beautiful. But some things that we did to make it even better than just visually, we added single sign-on. So no more sharing passwords accounts, right? And I'm assuming that most of you in here are public school districts. So you're going to use single sign-on, which is run through the ESUCC. And when you log in, it's automatically going to associate your district with your account, which is really nice. We got rid of activation codes. Woohoo! Right? Okay. And data stewards can ask for access, just like superintendents can assign access. So it works both ways and it's automated. No more of this, let me send you an email with this 8-digit code and hopefully you don't have a space in it and hopefully you enter it into the right box, right? All this craziness, that's all gonna be gone. Let's see. And a big thing, right? With single sign-on, no more sharing passwords, right? We all know that sometimes the superintendent can't be there to look up that activation code. We now have the ability where district administrators can assign a proxy admin. So this is great because there's someone else at the school district who can assign access, who can approve that request while the superintendent's out. Or maybe simultaneously, they can both be doing the same thing at the same time. And I think as we get into the portal and people are asking for access, it'll be really good for people to have multiple lanes of approval requests. And then we did improve the design. So homepage looks beautiful. We have announcements. We have contacts. Just the things that you need to be able to do your job better. And then I've already kind of gotten into this, but okay, so access. With the current portal, it's one collection at a time. You have to get the activation code, right? It's a little tedious. With the new portal, we've created roles. So I'm going to always use data steward because I think that's the majority of my audience here. Data stewards need a certain set of applications to do their job, right? You get advisor validation. You get person ID. You get NDE staff ID, staff reporting, if you're doing all that stuff. You as a data steward need access to all those applications. So instead of asking for them one at a time now, you can ask for the role data steward, and it's going to give you a whole bunch of applications. And if and when we introduce a new application, it'll automatically assign to that role. So you're not going to have to ask your superintendent for access because it's automatically going to associate with that role. Let's see. We will still have single application. So if you're a person who all you do is staff reporting, that's all you need, then that's all you'll ask for is just staff reporting. You don't need a set of applications. What else? I'm going to get into timing because I think that that's going to kind of explain a little bit of this. So we're launching the new portal with, and you'll hear me, I'm going to say application versus collection. Collection is the old portal, right? Application is the new portal. Think of it as like apps on your phone. So you're going to add apps to your new portal account. When we launch this, which is today, this morning, right now, with you guys, the only application that's going to be in there is a brand new one called District Contact Information. All the business that you do in the old portal right now, you're going to keep doing it. We're not going to change that for your end. Don't worry. You're going to keep doing Advisor the way you do Advisor. You're going to keep finishing up staff reporting in the old portal. We're not going to switch that all on you. So we're slowly going to be adding applications one at a time. Then we also have, and the service desk will be updating this link here. This is a Google Sheet, so we can update it kind of on the fly. And it'll say, is my collection in the old portal, or is my application in the new portal? So you'll be able to go look at this and be like, okay, old portal, log in there, do your business. This is going to be especially important as we start to add things to the new portal. But that'll be on the home page, that link there. So what are our next steps? 1, introduce the new portal. Yay, we're doing that today. Start getting accounts created, and then start training people. The majority of the focus for today is on public districts because I think the majority of the people attending are public. If we have non-publics, ESUs, we're totally available to support and help that too, but when I talk, it's going to be kind of in the language of a public district. But we have to get this out to all of those different groups up there. And non-publics, the set of data that they release, very different than what publics do. So our communication to each of these groups is going to come, but it might just be a little bit slower. And it's going to be geared towards the audience, because how you do what you do is a little bit different. And then training documents are going to come, and maybe a roadshow if we can get funding to go to the ESUs and help your schools get set up in the portal. And then the big part of it, which is why this is slow, is rewriting legacy portal collections for installation as applications in the new portal. Because it's different technology in some of them, and this is Satya's land, right? This is your pain point. But a lot of them take like a little bit of work to do that. So let's take a tour. This is the splash page. So you all know portal.education.ne.gov. That is the portal address, not changing. Keep that saved in your browser as a favorite. When you go there, you'll have a splash page. It's not set up yet. And you'll go to either legacy portal or you'll go to new portal. Both of those boxes you'll click through. Notice you've got which portal do I use at the bottom, because that way you can quick look there if you needed to decide which one to go to. And then you've got the service desk email, because we are here to help you. No question is a stupid question. What else, Stacy, Kim? All the things, right? We are here to help you guys through this process. And we're learning as you're learning, because this is new for all of us too. So if you're going to stick around for the second half when we do the hands-on session, we're going to walk through all these steps in the new portal and get accounts set up. But you're going to log in with SSO. So that's the big blue click here button. That's public districts for the most part, ESUs. There are some non-publics who use SSO. There are some publics who don't use SSO. Once you click there, you're going to select your district from a drop-down that displays there. Now, if you're not SSO, it's a little more, one extra step. There's a little phrase at the bottom and a little hyperlink saying here. You're going to click on that. Then you have the choice of how you're going to sign up for your account. Are you going to use Google? Are you going to use Microsoft? Or are you just going to sign up with an email and a password? That old school kind of type of access is still available. But we really want as many people who use SSO to sign in, because it's just going to be a smoother process. It's going to naturally assign that we call it ed.org, but your district to you. And then once non-SSO users create an account, they'll come to this same section to sign in, either with Google, Microsoft, or their email and password. So once you're in, the pages look different if you're SSO or if you're not SSO. So SSO, in the upper right-hand corner, you can kind of see it. It says Nebraska Department of Education. This is my account, I'm pretty sure. Yep. And when I log in with SSO, it knows this person's from the NDE, and so it automatically associates that. Today, when you log in with SSO, it's going to say your district name up there automatically. Now, if you're not SSO, error message. And there's no ed.org in the upper right. So that's one of the things, it's like an extra step that you don't have to go through as long as you use SSO, which is why Scott's here from ESUCC. He's going to help us later this morning if we have issues. And you're going to get an error that says, hey, we don't know what district you're at. And you're going to need to request access to that district. So let's say once you've got your ed.org, okay, right? Upper right-hand corner, it says Nebraska Department of Ed. This is a home page shot with no applications. So remember I said it's like your phone? There's no results, there's no boxes down there, there's no applications assigned to this account because there's no access. Once you get applications, you'll see these little tiles, which are kind of fun. And you can change the view if you're a list person, you can change it to that. But that's how you know you have access to some sort of application. All right, so here's kind of some of the fun stuff that the service desk gets to help you with. Announcements at the top. We can do multiple announcements. You can toggle between them. If we have a collection, it's going to take me a while to reframe my brain around that. If you have an application and you're like, is it due? We can put due dates up here. We can put notifications. Hey, we added this application to this role. We can use this for all sorts of stuff. When you click on the announcement itself, it opens up a pop-up box. And so this one, when we get in there today, I have some hyperlinks in it. And you can click through those to get to other pages. Okay, and then that bottom section of the page is where all your applications are going to be. And there's lots of different ways to sort and filter and save your page so that it works for you and how you function in your day-to-day. You can sort, let me start on the left. You can search. So if you're like, do I have access to advisor? You can search the word advisor, and any applications with that in the word or in the title will show. You can organize it by your favorites. So in the upper right hand, you see it says all, or you can click on favorites. So if the majority of what you do is advisor, you could favorite those apps and then have the other ones kind of be background, or you could favorite the ones you're working on because it's year end and then change those favorites later on. There's a lot of kind of fun things. You can sort them. That up there says application group. So once we get all sorts of stuff in there, we'll sort the applications by, let's say, advisor. We know advisor will be one of the application groups. It's going to be advisor validation, person ID. We'll probably have one that's staff reporting. It'll be staff reporting, NSSRS validation, NDE staff ID. So you can sort it by group, and then you can also sort it by due date. And then the other boxes up there are to view it in tiles or view it in a list, if you prefer that. Okay, so I changed in the left-hand side here on your screenshot, I changed the tab I'm looking at. We went from the home page to profile. So this is the first section of your profile, has your name, phone, and job title. Anything that's asterisked is required, and your editable fields depend on how your portal account was created. Okay, I'll give you a real-life problem that we experienced with the portal. Someone gets married, wants to change their last name. No can do. Like, sucks, right? Then you're stuck using a name that you don't go by anymore. Now, you can change that information, or it will automatically change through the SSO, which is through your district, right? So your district updates your email address. That then flows into the portal. Now your last name is corrected in the portal. And or, if you created your account using the old-timey method, email, password, you can just go in and change your first and last name as often as you want. So, what else? So let's go to the next section, which is preferences. If you support more than one district, or what we call ed org in here. You can toggle between them. So you can look, I've been using Sandy Creek and Lawrence Nelson as an example a lot lately because their superintendent has 2 districts. So in this case, he'd be able to go and toggle between the 2 districts here, and that's what would show in the upper right-hand corner. So he could choose which district automatically opens when he gets to his home page. And he could say, I want Sandy Creek to always open first. And then I would select Lawrence Nelson and change it if I want. I think for like vendors who are supporting you, SIS vendors, they'll have to do this. They'll have to go between the ed orgs to choose, okay, I need to look at this district's data right now versus the other one. And then the other toggle here is if you want to show the application descriptions on the home page. So most of us know exactly what advisor validation is. Some people may not. Okay, and then the next tab is applications. So you'll see there's nothing listed there because this user has no access, nothing going. But this time, there is something listed, and it's, I don't know if you can see it, it's really small. It says district admin public, 13 permissions. So this person is a district administrator for a public school district, and they have 13 applications associated with their account. That little district admin, you can open that up, and it says what those permissions are. So you can look at your own account. That'll say data steward public, and you can see which ones you have, which ones you don't. If your superintendent's like, I need you to complete staff reporting. Well, that's not part of the data steward role. I'm going to ask for access because I don't have it. So you're going to go to requests, and this is where you're going to ask for access. And we're going to do this today, too, in the second session. So you're going to select your ed org. Again, some of you may have multiple ed orgs, so you have to define that first. And you can make a request by the application, which would be like choose advisor validation from there, or, and we're always going to promote that you use the role, you're going to go to role, because that is a required field, and you're going to say which one you want. So if you're a data steward, you're going to select data steward. But if you're that person who you're only doing pupil transportation report, okay, I'm just making something up, that's the only thing you do in the portal. Under role, there's going to be a single application role, and you're going to just select pupil transportation report because that's the only one you do. So you don't need access to a role that has multiple applications. So you're going to do that, and you're going to, oh, I guess I go through this. Sorry, I talked through all of it, and let me go. Okay, so the bottom part of it is your request. So once you go through all that, you make your request, it'll display up here so you can see the status. If it's listed and open, that means your superintendent or proxy hasn't looked at it. You have to click on close to see if it's been approved or when they approved it. So I guess I didn't show, so there's 2 sections, right? The new request up top and then all requests. And that's kind of how I talked through that. We'll go through that when we get you set up later this morning. Okay, this is the resources section, and this is where the service desk needs your help. What are links that you use throughout the day when you're doing your portal work? All that's in there now is just what we thought would be helpful. But if you're like, oh, please add a section on SPED, which there is a section, but send me the link to whatever definitions that we need to have in there that you just need easy access to. We can add that in here. And then all of these links go external of the portal, but it's just one easy place to keep all of that information. And then the contact section I think is really helpful too, because sometimes we get questions like from a data steward at one district, and they're like, I need to get a hold of the superintendent at this other district. Where do I get that person's name? So this can be helpful. There's 3 sections to the contacts area. The first one is My District Admins. That's going to list who your superintendent or district admin is and who your proxy is. So if you need to ask someone to approve something, you look at this list and you're like, oh, I'm going to go to Stacy today because Kim's out. The next section is all administrators. So this is really helpful. This is every administrator in the state. So if you need to get a hold of a non-public, it'll have a contact for you to list there. If you need to get a hold of a different district, it'll list their superintendent or their proxy there. And then the last one is specific to your ed org. So I have NDE selected in the upper right-hand corner. This My Organization is going to show me any user for the NDE that's in the portal, which I think is really helpful too at a larger district. If you don't know who has access to what, you can see a list of, it won't show you what access they have, but it'll show you who has access. And then all of the lists can be exported. So you could take that all administrators list and export it into Excel if you needed to for some reason. Okay, so that's all just everyone. That's the regular portal. Now we have this secondary thing called the admin portal. This is where Sachi and I set up things for you in the portal. This is where Stacy and Kim help approve district administrators. This is where we manage users. Let's say you're having trouble getting logged in, we can do some research here. This is also where the superintendent and the proxy admin will go to manage their district users. So do we have many superintendents or potential proxy admins in the room? A few. But I think it's helpful too, even for the rest of you to see how they do it, right? And you can use this as a guide when you're asking for access from your superintendent to show them the steps that they'll use. So the admin portal has a home page, which is crazy helpful. And the first thing it says is pending requests. So right away, when I log in, I can go look, oh, there's 2 requests. Boom, I can go take care of those right away. It'll list the number of users. This number is really low, but that's because it doesn't list every possible user at the district. It only lists the people who have logged in and created accounts. So that number will slowly get bigger. And then eventually, you'll have users whose accounts may be expiring soon, and proxy administrators whose access may be expiring as well, just depending on settings. So one feature is users, and this is where user management occurs. This will show a list of every single user in that ed.org, and you can click Edit and View to see what access they have. You can export this list if you need to analyze it, if it's really big. I have a feeling like Service Desk may need to do this in cases where we're having a bigger issue. And what's really nice is you can create a new user. So let's say you have a new data steward starting, they haven't started yet, and you can actually have the superintendent or proxy create their user account, as long as you have their email, and then get that data ready for them when they show up on their first day, so that instead of their first day being request this, and waiting, it'll be set up for them. What else? I talked about editing review. The other part here is assign proxy administrator. So there's 2 sections to this page. One is a new assignment, and the bottom part is all the assignments that have been done. So it's kind of record-keeping historical data. So if you're a new superintendent, you can look and see who was proxy admin in the past, who currently is. The proxy administrator is assigned a from and a to date. So actually, if you had like a group of people and you were going to change it every quarter or something, you could set this up in advance and say, oh, this person has it from this date to this date, this person's going to start on the next day. Or you have someone who's retiring and you know the date ahead of time, you can set that date. But it does require an end date. So, and then it gets assigned, then it's listed in the bottom. Let me dig into this. So when you're assigning it, you've got the ed.org. Again, you have to pick that, number 1. And then you have to select the user. And the user does already have to have an account in the portal. So you can't assign a new user this way. This is specifically only for proxy admin. So that person already needs to have an account in the new portal. And then you assign their to and from date. And then in the bottom section, you'll see all the current and past assignments. And you do have to toggle back and forth. So like if an assignment has expired, you'll have to click on the past button to see that. All right, and then the request approval. So this is where you are approving access for users. It's going to list all of the people at your district, when they were approved. You can see in my screenshot I've got canceled, approved, denied, because there's different things that you can do to approve. You can approve it, cancel it, deny it. You can edit a request, which is really slick. I'm a superintendent, you request data steward access, and I'm like, no, I'm actually going to edit that. I only want them to have staff reporting. They're not going to do data steward right now. And then you can edit that and send it through. And this is also where they can go and find access that is waiting to be approved. And then reports. I have more information coming on this soon because we're still in testing for this. You'll be able to go in and look at it if you're a superintendent or a proxy admin. And if you have feedback on this, things you want as a superintendent or a proxy admin, let us know. But we're still working on that. All right, and then to return to the portal, in the lower left-hand corner, you've got portal. So it's either portal or admin portal. There's kind of two consoles there. And that's it. Okay, so resources. These are your helpful places to go. Portal information. This is a website where we're going to put a lot of training documents. We're going to put this presentation. The bulletin, of course. Sign up for that if you aren't already. We'll be notifying everybody through that. Like I said, though, the timing is going to be slow. So like we're announcing that here at the data conference and we're showing you all this, but I haven't sent a bulletin because I don't think we're ready for every single user in the state to go sign up for an account here, right? Like that would be a little overwhelming if we had issues. So we're just doing it a small group at a time. And then the service desk, of course. And then the data conference site. Like I said, this recording, this PDF will be available after for those who want to do it. So what, am I way early? Yeah, but that's good. Yeah, I want to do questions, so this is good.
So my question is you talked about expiring, and you said proxy admins. Are they the only ones that expire?
Yes and no. So the proxy admin access expires because it's a specific thing that you do in the portal. If you're, let's say you start as a data steward, you get assigned proxy admin access, and then that expires. You still have your data steward stuff. That doesn't go away. Just the proxy admin expires. Secondarily, depending on how you created your account and how frequently you use it, it could expire. But like SSO, automatically accounts are deactivated when your SSO is deactivated. So you leave the school district, that account deactivated. It's gone, right? Because your email address is no longer in use. So it's kind of expiring, but ish. But then there's also, if you create your account in different ways and you don't use it for a while, it could expire because you haven't logged in for a year or 2 years. The length is, I might know it. It might be written somewhere. I'll have to ask the Edwise guys if they have it written down somewhere. That's the company building this for us, but it's TBD because we can change it to whatever we feel is, and you guys feel is appropriate. Questions? Other questions? There's got to be questions. None? I was so thorough. Can't believe that. Yeah. Yeah, so let me repeat the question. When is the superintendent going to know to do this? When are they going to get their training, right? Very valid. We actually automatically added all of the public superintendents to the new portal, like on the back end. So they actually, as of now, already have accounts in there. So when they go to log in with SSO, their access is already set up. We're going to use this presentation, and then the next one that I do later at 10:15 for training for them. And then I think also Edwise put together a paper document that we can give them that has some steps in it too. That's just public superintendents. We haven't done that for non-publics. We haven't done that for ESU administrators. We have, right, all these other groups. So we're going to do something similar for each of those groups as well. But we started with public superintendents because we knew the majority of the people here are public districts. Good question. Oh. Oh, perfect.
So if you're, like if I put in a request to my admin for access to something, does that send them an email? Like if they don't log into the portal
Every day, yeah.
days or whatever, how will they?
I'm going to repeat the question for the recording. How will the district administrator or proxy know that someone's made a request? We have an email notification that goes out to each of those. We also have an email notification that goes out to the requester. So both parties are going to get the email. So the requester is going to get confirmation that they requested the thing, and then the administrators are going to get an email that so-and-so asked for XYZ access at your district. So they'll get that email, as long as it doesn't go to spam. They don't have a set, it's the service desk email address, so make sure they don't have that going to spam. And that's the notification that they'll get to go in. Unless they log in every day, which most of them don't. You're right. Yeah. Other questions? Oh, the other email templates, notifications from the new portal? Okay. So other email notifications. Let me see if I can go through the list. We've been working on this right now. Okay, one is you request access. Okay, you get a confirmation, and the people approving it get a notification. Another is if the superintendent denies access, you'll get a notification it was denied. If they edit access, you'll get a notification of what they edited it to. When they approve it, you'll get a notification. What else am I missing? What? Proxy admin. Thank you, Audie. Audie and Lewis from Edwise. They're my backup here. Proxy admin. So once you get assigned proxy admin, that is the one thing you can't request. There's no request for that. The superintendent has to assign that. Because that's a big deal, right? Like, they're going to be approving who's their second to approve access in the portal. So that's kind of a big deal. So it's on them to assign that. And that will be part of the instructions and the guidance that we give them. It says, decide who your proxy is, and here's the steps to do that. What? Oh, if you're a new user and you get created by the proxy or the district admin, you'll get a notification. So remember I talked about that new employee? You want to have everything set up for them on the day they start? They'll have a notification in their email box that says you've been set up with a portal account. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, good question. Can the proxy administrator sign off just like at the end of year, like advisor, year-end data collection? And it depends. Sorry. Not a concrete yes or no. It depends on which collection, because we do have a collection that no, the proxy cannot sign off on that. But potentially collections like advisor validation may allow that. So, and that's all kind of set up in the back end, how we set up the roles in the new portal. So let's say you're a data steward and you're like, I feel like this application should really be a part of the data steward role. You're going to email the service desk. We'll talk about it at the agency, and we'll be like, yeah, actually that's a really good idea. Let's make sure that we add that application to it. So all of this is up to us as a group, right? And your feedback to make sure that we're setting it up appropriately for your needs. Okay. So Jill from our DMAD NDE team, who's the administrator kind of overseeing this. There's good questions. Repeat it again, though.
Talk about the roles that you're going to be creating.
Okay. What kind of roles we are going to be creating. I can tell you the ones we've already started because we know for sure that we're going to need those. And then the potential ones we'll add as we move things from the old portal to the new portal. I've said it over and over again, data steward is a role. It's already there. I've got one for publics, non-publics, ESUs, right? Because think about what a data steward at a non-public does, very different than what a data steward does at a public. So each of those roles are different. We've got district administrators. That's a role of all, basically it's every application if you're a district administrator. What else? And we're probably going to add something like a SPED director, right? There are people at your district who work in ILCID. What are some other SPED things? It would be a collection of SPED specific. And maybe advisor validation is going to be a part of the SPED director role because we need the SPED director looking at advisor validation SPED data. I think district assessment coordinator is probably going to be a role because we've got DAX. Trying to think of other ones. Huh? Oh, finance, your business managers who are submitting financial data. That's a good one. And then for NDE, it looks a little bit different because I know there's a few NDE people in the audience. NDE's access is not role. It's specific to every application. So our world is a little bit different than the districts in that way. Yeah. Okay. Vendor. Stacy brings up our CIS consortium support, the people at the CISs supporting you. If it's appropriate that they have your access, the ability for them to make the request exists. We're still working on how that flow works. Same thing with ESUs. This is something else that was brought up. So ESUs, CIS vendors, they need access to multiple districts' data, and we're still working through how that works with each of the groups because it's probably going to be a little bit different, but potentially there could be a CIS vendor role. And that role included advisor validation, person ID, but each district administrator would have to assign it to each one of the CIS consortium people. or approve a request that came from them. But we're still working through. That's kind of like phase 2. And same thing with the ESU. So you're an ESU employee and you submit SPED data for 3 districts, you're actually going to need to ask for access to 3 districts to submit that data on behalf of them. A lot of that stuff, though, is still coming, because remember, we only have 1 application in there right now, and it's a brand new one called District Contact Information. Mac's going to talk a lot about it later in our plenary session. That's the only application in there right now. So remember, too, slow, right? We want to make sure that we get this done right. So all of the data is still in the old portal, and we'll be slowly kind of working through these things as they exist. Question?
Is there going to be predetermined applications for each role?
Yeah. Yep. Predetermined access for each role, yes. And this is something that we will have available for everyone to see in our training. It'll say role, data steward, these applications. And then if we have a new one, right, and we send a bulletin out for that new one, we'll say, this application has already been assigned to these roles. Then you'll already know, oh, okay, I already have access to it. Or actually, no, I need to ask for access for my superintendent. Yes? Oh, Jill. She wants to have a role and then be a superintendent who's like, I want them to have access to 10 of these applications, but not the 11th one. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So it's either all or nothing. So as a superintendent, you're going to have to assign the 10 single applications to the person or just give them access to the 11. That's a good question, though. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so if you're supporting multiple districts and you're not from that district, you're like from the ESU, does that access have to be approved every year? No, in the same way that it's like the portal now where you have access, you have it. Now, as a superintendent, I can go in and change that access. I can remove that. I can either remove the role, if that's what it is, and you could still have a portal account, you just won't have that access anymore. Or your ESU email expires, then your account is gone. What else? Really good questions. We're going to have on the website, and I set the clicker down, that portal website, we're going to do an FAQ there. All these kind of questions, these are really good. I'm going to go back through the recording, pull these out, and make sure that they're in our FAQ, because these are really good questions. Yeah?
What is the
Proposed timeline for the full rollout. So Jill would say, we'll have it done in a year. Naomi is going